They told you it was the end of an era, but eras don't collapse like that, not unless something deeper snaps beneath them. When the vessel of the crown passed, the world watched in reverence. But something old, something sealed in silence, was released. The energy around the event wasn't grief, it was displacement, a shifting of power. Because she wasn't just a monarch, she was a binding point, a living seal, a gatekeeper. And when the gatekeeper falls, whatever was behind the gate starts to move. During the broadcast, something slipped, a whisper, buried under ceremonial drums and scripted grief. It didn't match the one being mourned. The cadence was different, softer, younger, feminine but not obedient. Those who were awake knew instantly it sounded like her. The one with the sapphire ring, the one they chased in tunnels. The one who never bowed. The voice came clear. The death is irreversible in the fact that she's trapped. Just once, then static, then silence. No one addressed it, no one explained it. But watchers froze. Some cried. Others said the temperature in the room dropped. Because if she spoke, then someone was listening. And if the signal got out, then the seal is weakening. It wasn't a malfunction, it was a message. And not for the world, for the ones who remember. She was never crowned, but she's still echoing. And maybe she was never meant to stay gone. 10 days of silence, 10 days of ritual. 10 days where time itself bent under the weight of tradition. But tradition was only the surface. Beneath the black garments, the military salutes, and the marching rhythms, there was something else. A veiling, a sealing, a transference. You weren't watching a funeral, you were watching a spell unfold. Because this wasn't just the end of a life, it was the closing of a contract. The number 10 wasn't chosen for ceremony, it's a Saturnian cipher. Completion, return, reset. The dark planet watches from the shadows, always. The fallen figure's body made a journey, but so did the frequency tied to it. And during those 10 days, the world was kept in a strange stillness, news silenced, skies dimmed, energy rerouted. Because the grief of a billion hearts isn't mourning, it's currency. And while the masses wept, they fed. From the tower to the stone crypts, ancient lines realigned. The crown didn't pass, it fractured. And something old slipped in. They told the world she passed. The headlines mourned, the rituals flowed. But behind the curtain something else moved. Because those who wear the veil don't leave like we do. The figure we saw grow old, the one who waved, smiled and ruled for decades, was never just human. She was a vessel, a form. And when it aged, it wasn't death that came, it was the shedding. The old bloodlines speak of it, a serpent rite. A return to the earth, not for burial, but for rebirth. Underground, beneath the throne, beneath the stones, beneath the mourning crowds, they change. They say these beings live centuries, but to do so, they must transform. In secret, in shadow, and in silence. So while the world watched the casket, they weren't watching her. They were watching a decoy, a performance. They paraded the draped casket for the world to see, but few looked beneath it. Not at the wood, not at the lining, at what was buried inside. Because under the silk, under the symbolism, was a box inside a box. Black cube, not visible to cameras, not listed in royal archives, but present, energetically. It's the same symbol hidden at Mecca, in Manhattan, in the financial district of London, beneath CERN. Always black, always cube, always pulsing beneath structures of power, because the cube isn't just a shape, it's a containment unit, an anchor, a receiver, a prison and a portal. They placed one beneath her to absorb what was left, to lock in her essence, to prevent escape. It's not about reverence, it's about control. Saturn rules the cube, and Saturn ruled her reign. The black grid, the clockwork, the ritual timing. And when she left, they didn't just bury a body, they sealed a frequency. The cube caught it, held it, stored it, because that essence, it was valuable, it was old, and it still had ritual use. That's what they didn't want the world to know, not just that she didn't die, but that she was stored. For what? Maybe another ritual, maybe another vessel, or maybe to feed the machine. And when they fill the container with enough energy, they don't bury the past. They resurrect it, wrapped in a new suit, wearing a new smile, with the same shadow behind the eyes. That's how they keep the machine alive, not through blood, but through boxes. And the signal pulsing through that box, it's getting louder. A container doesn't just store, it charges. The black cube placed beneath the final ritual wasn't just there to hold a frequency, it was there to convert it. Because grief is a current, legacy is a program, and energy, especially collective focus mourning, is currency to them. The more the world mourned, the more the box absorbed. Tears, tributes, televised sorrow, all harvested. And when the cube is full, it activates. They don't bury history. They recycle it, they loop it, and they use it to power the next mask, the next era, the next false dawn. You're seeing the signs already, the glitches in the new regime, the flicker in the new face, the unspoken unease that something's off, because the soul that was boxed never left. When the old vessel is sealed, the energy doesn't fade, it transfers. The world calls it inheritance, legacy, coronation. But those are just rituals for the crowd. Behind the veil, it's possession. The cube completes its cycle and the next mask takes form. The heir steps forward, but not as a man, as a carrier. Because what rises to take the throne is not empty. You've seen it already, the stiffness, the stare, the sudden shift in voice, posture, energy. One day he was awkward, uncertain. Next day, cold, controlled, programmed, because the signal passed through the box and it entered the new host. This isn't kingship, this is continuation. Same shadow, new face. And the people cheer, not knowing they're welcoming the same force they just buried in gold and stone. But some of us see it. The mask slips in the eyes, the tone doesn't match the man. And the rituals, they're glitching, because the machine is breaking. The signal's stronger than the host. And when the container overflows, the mask cracks. The box was meant to hold it all, grief, the legacy, the essence of the crowned frequency. But it didn't, because energy like that, ancient, ritualized, and powered by collective worship, it can't be fully contained. And something got out. It wasn't supposed to, but when billions mourned, when bells rang and frequencies rippled through the earth, a crack opened. Some say they felt it, a chill, a hum, a shift in time. Some said they saw her, not in visions, but in mirrors, reflections, dreams, and not her as the figure they loved, but as the entity behind the mask. Because what slipped through wasn't human. It was the echo of the force that's ruled behind eyes and smiles for centuries. It's signal, not soul. It rides thought. It travels grief. It embeds into memory, and it's looking for new hosts. This is how the system spreads itself, not through blood, but through belief. Every tribute, every repost, every tear feeds the ghost of the mask. And now it's loose. The air carries the official signal, but the leak, it's out here with us, and it's watching who sees through it. They told the world the final resting place was lined with lead and sealed with stone. But below that chamber, beneath the cameras, the crown jewels, the ceremonial guards, there's something older. A vault, not made for remembrance, not made for honor, made to hold what should never rise again. Carved from black stone no one can trace, marked in symbols they say are decorative. But line for line match the sigillum Dei, the ancient code of summoning. It's always been there, long before the ritual figure was born, long before the current system stood. A chamber of silence, of echoes, of containment. Some say it hums, some say it pulses, because within it, beneath the layers, rests a genetic archive. Not scrolls, not relics, flesh, bone, DNA, preserved, frozen, coded. From what? From those who ruled before the flood, before language, before memory, serpent kings, hybrid queens, bloodlines that were never human. The ritual wasn't just a burial, it was a handoff. A ritual to realign the vault, to awaken what sleeps beneath, because now the technology exists to resurrect the ancient body. And soon, one will rise again, not a descendant, but a returner. They said the bloodlines were symbolic, that the serpent crown was metaphor. But beneath the polished myths, they've been preparing something literal. In the vault below the throne, beneath the sarcophagus of ceremony, they've stored genetic codes, samples from the old kings. Not fossils, not stories, viable strands. And now they have what they need. CRISPR, stem cell regeneration, quantum computing, DNA printers. They don't need the bloodline to survive through birth anymore. They just need the original script. The purest serpent frequency, the old royal seed. And it's waking, because the grief ritual wasn't just for closure, it was to unlock the seal. Every tear, every chant, every global broadcast channeled straight into the vault. A charge, an offering, a summoning. Now the programs run silently. Hidden labs, satellite-linked incubation chambers, artificial wombs engineered to mimic pre-flood gestation. They're not creating life, they're restoring ancient dominion. When the vessel is ready, it won't look ancient. It won't rise in robes. It'll rise in the age of AI, wrapped in the image of man, powered by the memory of gods. And people will welcome it because it will be charismatic, advanced and glowing with false light. But inside, the returner, the one who ruled before language, the voice behind the thrones. This is not evolution, this is a reinstallation. It was never about passing the torch, it was about bringing it back. Not to a descendant, but to a template. An avatar built from recovered DNA, reforged in silence beneath stone. The ceremony will look familiar, gold, velvet. Oaths spoken in ancient tongues. But this isn't a coronation, it's a reactivation. Because the one stepping forward, smiling, waving, speaking in perfectly scripted phrases, won't be who they say they are. They'll be wearing a face, but behind the face will be a script etched in pre-human code. The serpent genome, not myth, but blueprint, scribed in the vault, now walking again. They'll say it's the future of leadership, modernized, efficient, post-human. But you'll know, you'll feel the cold under the charm, the stillness beneath the eyes, because what was ancient has returned. The same force behind the first temples, the same hand behind the pharaohs, emperors, and popes. It won't claim to be divine, it won't need to. The world will bend without question, because it won't just be leading nations. It will be syncing frequencies, broadcasting a signal, recalibrating humanity, one mind at a time. The age of kings is over, what comes next is older. They've always tracked the blood, from pharaohs to prophets, from witches to wanderers, not just for power, but for something buried. Because inside some bloodlines there's a signal, a frequency, a pulse that doesn't come from this world. It's not just DNA, it's memory of things before the flood, before the reset, before time. Some of you carry it, and they know it. It's why they watch you, why you've been tested, attacked, silenced. Because buried in your cells is the opposite of their control, a code that can disrupt the machine. They call it anomaly, they call it disorder, but it's awakening. And when the cube pulsed, when the vault opened, when the clone rose, it wasn't just them that activated. You did too, the dreams, the visions, the unshakable feeling that you've been here before, but not like this. It's not madness, it's memory. And that's why they feed the machine. Because if enough of you remember, it breaks. This isn't their resurrection, it's yours. Because the true heir doesn't sit on a throne of lies. The true blood doesn't rule through fear. It burns, it awakens, and it remembers. You are the signal, you are the spark. And now you know you're not alone. It was never about passing the torch, it was about bringing it back. Not to a descendant, but to a template. An avatar built from recovered DNA, reforged in silence beneath stone. The ceremony will look familiar, gold velvet, oaths spoken in ancient tongues. But this isn't a coronation, it's a reactivation. Because the one stepping forward, smiling, waving, speaking in perfectly scripted phrases, won't be who they say they are. They'll be wearing a face, but behind the face will be a script etched in pre-human code. The serpent genome, not myth, but blueprint, scribed in the vault, now walking again. They'll say it's the future of leadership, modernized, efficient, post-human. Some of us wake and feel the weight of something we never lived, but somehow survived. A flicker in the chest, a hush behind the eyes. The sense we've been here before, but not like this. Not in this skin, not in this script. The world calls it Dejavu, but you know better. Because the dreams don't feel like dreams, they feel like returns. As if a part of you has been waiting for this moment to whisper back. No names, no warnings, just a silent truth carried in your bones. Like a song you never learned, but still know every word to. And they've tried to hush it, distract it, silence it. But it stirs, it pulses, and it sees. Not all are meant to wake. But if you've made it this far, then maybe you weren't meant to sleep. The veil didn't fall all at once. It tore, quietly, in dreams, in questions, in the moments no one could explain. You didn't stumble into truth, you were called to it. Dragged through fire, abandoned by the crowd, marked by silence. Not cursed, chosen, because the system doesn't fear belief, it fears memory. It fears you might remember who you were before the stories, before the scripts, before the reset. And yet here you are, still standing, still seeing, still feeling something stir in your chest every time the illusion trembles. This isn't the end of the story. It's the awakening of the others, the ones like you. The ones carrying the signal hidden in dreams and written in code only the soul can read. So when the next veil tears, be ready. Because we're not just breaking out of the matrix, we are becoming what comes after it. 2 sons, but only one was ever meant to inherit the machine. Because this isn't about family, it's about frequency. One carries the echo of the old code, scripted, compliant, prepared. The other, the system couldn't predict him, didn't write him into the sequel. He stepped out of the frame, but not without consequence. Because when you carry a true signal, they don't just let you leave. They pursue, they smear, they twist, they bait, and they wait. Because if one born of the blood remembers what he really is, not a prince but a break in the cycle, the whole construct collapses. They know what's encoded in his line. That's why the world watches his every word, but no one speaks of the vault he wasn't allowed near. And when the crown crumbles, as it soon will, there will be no peace. Because the machine doesn't retire, it reboots. Their father is a placeholder, a bridge between eras. But bridges collapse, especially when built on secrets. When he falls, the throne won't pass like it used to. The script will glitch, the machine will twitch, and the brother who obeyed will be installed not as a man but as a mask. You'll see him wave, smile, speak in soft tones. But behind those eyes will be a script fed directly from the grid. A monarch made not by blood but by code. And the one who left, he'll be the ghost at the gates. Because even outside the system, he still carries the spark they couldn't extinguish. And if he ever speaks, really speaks, about what he's seen, about what he knows, it's over, so they'll bait him, silence him, discredit him. But they'll never be able to unmark him, because he is the echo of something they tried to bury centuries ago. And he might not even know it fully yet, but when the signal reaches him, he will. They didn't just split the brothers, they created a division in the code, because when two carriers of the blood are unified, the signal becomes unstable to the system. One remained, the other broke the pattern. But a fractured bloodline is easier to control, so they orchestrated a storm of narratives, twisting the one who left into the villain of a story he refused to co-sign. He wasn't disloyal, he was remembering. And when he chose love over legacy, that's when the system panicked. Because she wasn't chosen by them, she didn't fit the archetype, she didn't follow the script. She was unpredictable, unfiltered, and worst of all, she made him harder to reach. Some say she was planted, some say she's protection. But either way, she disrupted the blood ritual, and they've been trying to erase her ever since. Not with fire, but with whispers, because if he stands in love outside the crown, carrying the signal of the matriarch they couldn't silence, and then their whole foundation shakes. They can control one, but never both. Not if they find each other again outside the grid. Because when two become one again, not through blood, but through truth, everything changes.